And this was the first time that a person had ever really asked me questions that made me think. He would ask me, how could Jesus be God? As I'm about to see, this brother's giving me some time here, which is good, because he went through a lot of these examples. But how could Jesus be God when he prayed to God? How could Jesus be God when, as he said, that God knows everything? And Jesus clearly established and said, according to Christians in their Bible, that he was deficient in knowledge. Because when asked about the day of judgment, the hour, he said, I don't know the hour. Only God knows the hour. Showing a distinction, making a distinction between him and God. So these questions were asked to me, and I tried my best. I wasn't raised like as he was, with the seriousness, if you will, or of trying to dedicate my life in that sense. But nevertheless, somebody comes to you, and even if we're not strong in religion, and they want to try to attack you, that wasn't his intention. So it felt like I was ready to go back, and we were trying to debate with them, And it was nice, it made me think about these things. None of them really baffled me or confused me, but again, they made me think. They were very good questions. So weeks passed, and along with talking with him, I probably talked to him just once or twice more, and that's it. We literally talked no more than 90 minutes, and so you've heard my other part of the story, going into it here, look up that. We probably talked no more than 90 minutes over a week or so. In that meantime, my other friends, who were Muslim, never talked to me, then they started hearing that I was learning, they started, oh yeah, really? So they started talking. They give me a book here, a book there. So I was starting to learn about Islam. One of them invited me to the local masjid. Well, now that I knew it wasn't a dance club, I wasn't the most excited. But I said, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's go by the masjid. So I said, okay, I drove to the masjid expecting to meet this person there. I didn't see him. I said, okay, what do I do? Okay, I'm here. Let's go see. Do I just go in? How do I act? I've heard something about shoes. Do I knock on the door? Is anybody knocking on the door at these places? I was like, okay, what do I do? So I knock, like a weirdo. And if I look out front, who's the white guy? So I knock on the door, and I was thinking, okay, you know what? This isn't right. This feels weird. Let me just run. But I wanted to see the white dude running, knocking at the place of worse for running away. It didn't seem like it would be a good outcome. So I waited. 5 seconds later, somebody answers the door. And I'm 2 steps below it. Step into the masjid. This is something going on. I love the community, but they know me very well because they embraced me when I became Muslim. And the person who enters the door, subhanAllah, at least this is my memory, because maybe, because now I see Muslims with beards, it's no thing. You guys probably got crazy habits, maybe. But some of the guests here. But this person who answered the door, his skin he was an Arab, and he had dark skin, huge beard, and this white thobe. Could barely speak English. Well, I learned that in a few minutes. He answered the door, and I looked up at him and I was like, dear God, there's a sacrifice. I'm not joking. It came to my mind. And I wanted to give him some excuse about being like a salesperson. No, you don't want it great. I'm wrong. But I don't know, something I stepped in because he greeted. I'm not trying to be funny. This is actually what went in my crazy little head. So he stuck out his hand though, and he shook my hand. He said, welcome. And I told him I'm trying to meet somebody here, so he invited me in. He sat me down next to some other American Muslims, some of which were raised Muslim, but several also who converted to Islam. So he gave me at least a little bit of a comfort zone. And then I met the Imam, who many of us know. I went over to the Imam over there for many years, and that's how we developed such a close relationship, because basically him and I debated for several years, which I'll get to. 2 years, so I was very stubborn. But continuing, I ended up going back to the masjid many times over the next couple of weeks. Many times. And of course, it didn't hurt the first time it didn't hurt why I went, because there was food being served. And when I went back for the next couple of weeks, I was like, man, my initial impression of these guys, because I was always on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday, because they said they were going to have food. I was like, okay. So I was like, man, 80, 100 people going to the masjid, staying there, worshiping their Lord. I was like, these guys are awesome. I didn't care about Islam. I had no interest in Islam. I was going strictly because it was from the Muslims that they were giving me these questions that made me think. So that's what was bringing me. But I was like, man, look at these guys. 80, 100 people on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're looking back. It was Ramadan. So and now it makes a little bit more sense. And we learned that it was Ramadan, they had free food. We fasted and they had food. And so I continued going to the masjid. And I wish I could tell you that I only went there. And I'm not trying to be funny, but I wish I could tell you that I only went there for the knowledge, but I'd be lying to you. I was single, eating cafeteria food. It was great. Going to food every night. But I went, and I would have these discussions with the Imam. And I was there, and I wanted to disprove him. I wanted to make that first guy a Catholic. That was my goal, and then the Imam Catholic. I wanted to disprove him. And of course I was ill-equipped. This brother here, he would have been more better equipped to at least argue. But I would try, because that's what I was there for. I wanted to hear what I'm saying. I can't explain it. Why would you go to somebody and beat you? But that's essentially because I was getting beat down, but it was just this knowledge I was seeking after, and they were making me think, and it was like a drug. I wanted to go and get more of it, but I didn't like getting beat. So every time I run back to the priest, get more firepower, and go back. Yeah, what? Yes. And he said, well, this is the case. And he would show me other verses in the Bible why I was wrong. Go back to the priest. I go back and forth and back and forth. Now, briefly, I should mention some of the, before I mention some of these points that he and I discussed over several of these meetings, I first want to tell all of you that although I was willing to discuss with these people, is Jesus God? Is Jesus the Son of God? Is there really a Trinity? I was willing to discuss these things. So the points that they made that he mentioned, that I mentioned about the hour and other such things, Jesus praying to God, how maybe God was praying to God, all these things I never thought of, these were good points. I was willing to discuss those things. But there's one thing that I was not going to waver on, and it was my constant. Okay? This is I can't explain it. Maybe Muslims can explain it also. Jesus was ingrained in my very being. I was going to believe in him, period. I believed he was sent from God. What was he? It was up to discussion. I still wanted to believe as a Catholic that he was God, but I was willing to maybe concede that the points were there. But that was it. I was only going to accept that Jesus was sent by God. That was not a topic of discussion. And thankfully, as we know, Muslims believe that Jesus, peace be upon him, was a great prophet and messenger of God, sent by God to bring the people to the truth of worshiping only him and not worshiping other than him, as she mentioned, Tawheed in the Arabic language. And we believe that Jesus, peace be upon him, is coming back on the day of judgment. That he is born of the Virgin Mary. So thankfully, I didn't have to argue or concede some of these things. And after a long story short on this particular point, after hearing these arguments about Jesus, peace be upon him, that I mentioned in the Bible that he said earlier, and then hearing verses in the Quran, such as the one that we mentioned today during the khutbah, where Jesus, peace be upon him, Allah said that Jesus says in the Quran that he said to his people, Inna Allah Rabbi wa Rabbukum. Verily Allah is my Lord and your Lord. Fa'buduhu. So worship him. Hada siratun mustaqim. This is the straight path. And when we see how that lines up with the Old Testament, and how that lines up when in the New Testament, when they came to him, they said, oh, teacher, what is the greatest commandment? And he said, the greatest commandment is this, that our God is one God. And so when I saw those things, and I was learning those things, and then as I was learning about what I perceived at the time to be changes in the message of Jesus, peace be upon him, now I fully believe there were changes. I slowly began to change my beliefs, and I can quickly say I quickly left Catholicism. For about a year, I became a hardcore, Bible-believing Catholic like this brother. And that's in the story because then mine goes on like this. No. But I became like where he was. Bible-believing, blah, blah, blah. And I can just say, respectfully, that I don't believe that Catholicism, in general, their beliefs line up with the beliefs of Jesus, peace be upon him. So I was forced to leave.